The taillights of my son's black SUV disappeared into the darkness, and I stood there on that empty highway, my knees shaking, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst right out of my chest. The night air was cold, and I could see my breath making little clouds in front of my face. Behind me, nothing but trees and darkness. In front of me, the same. No streetlights, no gas stations, no help. My name is Beatrice Washington. I'm 72 years old. And my only child, my son Rodney, just left me on the side of Highway 49, 30 miles outside of Jackson, Mississippi. Like I was a bag of trash he couldn't wait to throw away. I could still hear Shanice's voice in my head, my daughter-in-law, sweet as pie just 10 minutes ago, now cold as ice. Sign the papers, Mama B. Sign them, and we'll take you back. Don't sign them, and you can figure out your own way home. The papers. Lord, the papers. Power of attorney, deed transfer, bank authorizations. Everything I owned, everything I worked 50 years to build, typed up neat and legal, just waiting for my signature. I told them no. I told them I wouldn't sign. And Rodney, my baby boy, the child I raised by myself after his father died, looked at me with eyes colder than winter and said, "Then I guess you're getting out here." And they drove away. They actually drove away and left their 72-year-old mother on a dark highway in the middle of nowhere. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't possibly know, was that I had already made my calls. Before we even left for this vacation, I knew something wasn't right. And I had prepared. Before we continue, shout out to Deshaun Williams from Atlanta. We appreciate the love you show by commenting and sharing. Let me tell you how it all started, so you understand just how deep this betrayal goes. I raised Rodney by myself from the time he was 8 years old. His father, Samuel, was a good man, worked construction his whole life, died in an accident on a job site when Rodney was just a boy, left me with a mortgage, a child to feed, and about $3,000 in savings. I worked 2 jobs for 20 years. During the day, I cleaned houses in the nice neighborhoods over in Madison. At night, I worked at the hospital, cleaning floors, emptying trash bins, doing whatever needed doing. My hands were raw. My feet hurt so bad some nights I cried when I took off my shoes. But I never missed a day. Not one. I made sure Rodney had everything he needed. New shoes when he needed them, school supplies, a basketball when he wanted to try out for the team. I went to every game, every parent-teacher conference, every school event, even when I was so tired I could barely stand. When he graduated high school, I had saved enough to help him go to community college. He studied business, got decent grades. Met a girl named Shanice who was studying at Jackson State. She was pretty, smart, had big dreams about opening her own hair salon one day. They got married when Rodney was 23. I paid for half that wedding. It was beautiful. We had it at Mount Zion Baptist Church, where I'd been a member for 35 years. Pastor Jenkins married them. The whole church came. We had a reception at the community center with fried chicken, collard greens, mac and cheese, sweet potato pie. Everyone danced and laughed and celebrated. I was so happy that day, so proud. My baby was starting his own family. Shanice got pregnant with Aiden a year later. Then Zara came 2 years after that. I loved those grandbabies like they were my own children. I babysat every weekend, took them to the park, made them cookies, taught them how to play spades and dominoes. I was Nana B, and those kids were my whole world. But here's the thing about money. When you have it, people start looking at you different. See, I kept working. Even after Rodney got married, even after the grandbabies came, I kept working. And I kept saving. I was smart with my money. Didn't spend on foolishness. Didn't go on vacations. Didn't buy fancy things. I saved every penny I could. By the time I was 65 and finally retired, I had paid off my house, a nice 3-bedroom in a decent neighborhood, and I had saved $175,000. Not a fortune, but enough to live on for the rest of my life if I was careful. Enough to leave something for Rodney and the kids when I passed. I also got Samuel's life insurance money that had been sitting in an account earning interest all those years. Another $50,000, plus my pension from the hospital, plus Social Security. I wasn't rich, but I was comfortable. And after working myself to the bone for 50 years, I felt like I deserved that comfort. That's when things started to change. Rodney and Shanice bought a house 5 years ago. They asked if I could help with the down payment. They needed $25,000. I gave them $30,000. Told them to use the extra to furnish it nice, make it a real home for my grandbabies. They were so grateful. Shanice cried and hugged me. Rodney called me the best mother in the world. They threw me a birthday party that year and gave me a beautiful card that said, "Thank you for always believing in us." 2 years later, Shanice's salon wasn't doing well. She needed $15,000 to keep it open, pay her employees, stock new products. I gave her $20,000. Told her I believed in her dream. Last year, Rodney said he was starting a business with a friend. Something about selling phone accessories online. He needed $10,000 to get started. I gave it to him. Every time, they were so thankful, so loving, called me every day, brought the kids over on Sundays. Shanice would do my hair for free. Rodney would fix things around my house. They seemed like the perfect, grateful family. But then things got strange. About 6 months ago, Rodney started asking questions about my finances. How much did I have saved? What bank was it in? Did I have a will? Who was the executor? Had I thought about what would happen to my house when I passed? I thought he was just being responsible, thinking about the future. I'm 72 after all. It made sense that he'd want to know these things. Then Shanice started talking about how hard it was to take care of aging parents. She'd tell me stories about her friend whose mother had dementia, how expensive the care was, how the family had to take over all her finances to protect her. She'd say things like, "We'd never let that happen to you, Mama B. We'd take care of everything." I didn't think much of it at the time. I thought she was being sweet, showing concern. But then the papers started coming. First, it was a letter from Rodney's financial advisor, suggesting I consolidate my accounts and add Rodney as a joint holder for ease of management. I ignored it. Then it was a packet from a lawyer I'd never heard of, talking about elder care planning and suggesting I grant power of attorney to my closest family member. I threw it away. Then Rodney showed up at my house one Sunday with a notary, saying he'd made an appointment for me to update my will, that it was important to have everything in order. I told him I wasn't interested and sent them both away. That's when things got cold. The phone calls became less frequent. The Sunday visits stopped. When I called, they were always busy. When I asked to see the kids, there was always an excuse. I felt it in my gut. Something was wrong. But I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe that my son, my only child, the boy I sacrificed everything for, would ever hurt me. Then, 2 weeks ago, everything changed. Shanice called me, sweet as sugar, like nothing had ever been wrong. "Mama B, how are you? We miss you so much. The kids have been asking about you non-stop." My heart lifted. Maybe I'd been wrong. Maybe they were just busy, stressed with work and life. "We want to make it up to you," Shanice said. "We're planning a family vacation, just the 5 of us. We're going to drive down to the Gulf Coast, rent a beach house for a week. It'll be beautiful. Quality time together. What do you say?" I should have known better. I should have felt the trap closing around me, but I wanted so badly to believe that my family still loved me. I wanted so badly to be with my grandbabies again. "That sounds wonderful," I told her. "When do we leave?" "This Friday," she said. "We'll pick you up at 6 in the morning. Pack light. We'll have everything you need." Friday came. I was up at 5, packed and ready, excited like a child on Christmas morning. I stood at my window watching for Rodney's SUV. They pulled up at 6:15. I grabbed my small suitcase and hurried out. Aiden and Zara were in the back seat, both glued to their tablets, barely looking up when I climbed in. "Good morning, Mama," Rodney said. His voice was flat. no warmth. "Morning, Mama B," Shanice added, not turning around. The kids said nothing. We drove for an hour in near silence. I tried to make conversation, asking about school, about friends, about anything. Aiden mumbled one-word answers. Zara ignored me completely. Shanice stared at her phone. Rodney kept his eyes on the road. Something was very wrong. After 2 hours, Rodney turned off the highway onto a smaller road, then onto an even smaller road. The houses got farther apart. The trees got thicker. I looked around, confused. "Rodney, baby, where are we going? This doesn't look like the way to the coast." "We need to make a stop first," he said. My stomach turned. That old instinct, the one that kept me safe all those years working night shifts in rough neighborhoods, started screaming at me. "What kind of stop?" "You'll see." We drove for another 20 minutes. The sun was fully up now, but the road was empty. No other cars. No houses. Just trees and more trees. Finally, Rodney pulled over onto the shoulder. He put the car in park, but left it running. "Kids," Shanice said, "put your headphones on. Turn your music up loud." Aiden and Zara obeyed immediately, like they'd been told this would happen. Rodney turned around to face me. In his hands was a folder, a thick folder full of papers. "Mama, we need to talk." My hands started shaking. "About what?" "About your situation. You're getting older. You can't manage everything by yourself anymore. It's time to let us help you." "Help me how?" Shanice turned around now, and the look on her face, Lord, I'll never forget it. Cold, calculating, like I was a problem to be solved, not a person to be loved. "We need you to sign these papers," she said. "They'll make everything easier. For all of us." I took the folder with trembling hands. Power of attorney documents, transfer of deed for my house, making Rodney the owner, authorization to access all my bank accounts, papers to close my accounts and transfer the money to accounts in Rodney's name. Everything. They wanted everything. "You want me to give you all my money?" My voice came out small, weak. "And my house?" "We're not taking anything," Rodney said. "We're protecting you, protecting your assets. You don't understand how these things work, Mama. There are scammers out there. Elder fraud is everywhere. This way, we can make sure nothing happens to your money." "My money is fine where it is." "Is it?" Shanice leaned closer. "Because we've been hearing things, Mama B. You forgot to pay your water bill last month. You left the stove on twice last week. You're getting forgetful. It's normal at your age, but it's dangerous. Lies, all lies. I never forgot any bills. I never left the stove on. They were making things up, trying to make me doubt myself." "That's not true," I said. "I'm fine. My mind is sharp as ever." "Mama, just sign the papers." Rodney's voice got harder. "We've already talked to a lawyer. This is what's best." "Best for who? You or me?" "For everyone. For the family." I looked at my grandbabies in the back seat, headphones on, eyes down, refusing to look at me. They knew. Somehow, they knew what their parents were doing. I looked back at the papers in my lap. Everything I worked for. Everything I sacrificed for. Everything I built from nothing while my hands bled and my feet screamed and my back ached. They wanted to take it all. "No," I said quietly. "What?" Rodney's face hardened. "I said no. I'm not signing anything. Take me home. Right now." Shanice laughed. Actually laughed. "You think you have a choice here? Mama B, you're 72 years old. Who's going to believe you know what's best for yourself? We have doctors who'll say you're declining. We have records of your forgetfulness. We have everything we need to prove you're incompetent." "You're lying. There are no doctors, no records. You made all of it up." "And who's going to believe you over us?" Rodney said. Your loving son who's just trying to protect his aging mother? Or a confused old woman who can't remember what day it is? The cruelty in his eyes broke something in me. This wasn't my son. This was a stranger, a monster wearing my son's face. Sign the papers, Mama, he said again. Or get out of the car. You wouldn't dare. He reached across me and opened my door. The cold air rushed in. Get out. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe this was happening. Rodney, please. I'm your mother. I raised you. I gave you everything. And now it's time for you to give us what we're owed. Sign or get out. I looked at Shanice. Surely she would stop this. Surely she had some compassion, some humanity left. But she just stared at me with those cold eyes and said, You heard him. Sign or walk. I looked at the papers one more time. At everything they wanted to steal. At the life I'd built being reduced to signatures on a page. And I thought about what my mama told me when I was young. Baby girl, never let nobody make you small. You stand up, you stand tall, you fight. I dropped the papers on the floor of the car. I'm not signing nothing. Rodney's face twisted with rage. Fine, get out. You're really going to leave me here, in the middle of nowhere? You made your choice. I grabbed my purse, thank God I had my purse, and climbed out of that SUV. My legs were shaking so bad I could barely stand. Last chance, Shanice said. Sign the papers, and we'll take you to the beach house like we promised. Don't sign, and you're on your own. I straightened my back, lifted my chin, looked my son dead in the eye. I ain't signing nothing for you. Not now, not ever. Rodney slammed my door shut, put the car in drive, and without another word, without one look back, he drove away. I watched those taillights disappear, listened to the sound of the engine fade, stood there in the silence, with nothing but my purse, the clothes on my back, and the cold realization that my only child had just abandoned me to die. But what Rodney and Shanice didn't know, what they couldn't possibly have known, was that I had expected this. Not exactly this, maybe, but something like it. I'd felt it coming for weeks, seen the signs, and I had made preparations. In my purse was my cell phone, fully charged. And before we left that morning, before I even walked out of my house, I had made 3 very important phone calls. To my lawyer, to my pastor, and to Detective Patricia Moore of the Jackson Police Department, an old friend from my hospital days who I'd asked to please keep an eye on things, just in case. I pulled out my phone. It had service. Thank God it had service. My hands were still shaking as I dialed the first number, but this time, I wasn't shaking from fear. I was shaking from rage. And Rodney and Shanice were about to find out that you don't abandon Beatrice Washington and get away with it. Not in this life. The first number I called was Detective Patricia Moore. Patricia and I went way back. 20 years ago, when I was working nights at the hospital, she was a young patrol officer who'd come in after her partner got stabbed breaking up a domestic dispute. I stayed with her in that waiting room all night, brought her coffee, prayed with her when things looked bad. Her partner lived, and Patricia never forgot my kindness. She answered on the second ring. Beatrice? Are you okay? Where are you? Highway 49, about 30 miles south of Jackson. They left me, Patricia. Just like I thought they would. I heard her curse under her breath. I'm sending a unit right now. Stay on the line with me. Are you safe? Any cars passing by? I'm okay. Cold, but okay. There's no one out here. Help is coming. 10 minutes, maybe less. And Beatrice? Everything you told me this morning, everything you suspected, we got it all on record now. The moment they drove away and left you, they committed a crime. Elder abandonment. Attempted exploitation. And with those papers they tried to force you to sign, we can add coercion and attempted theft. My heart was pounding, but not from fear anymore. From something else. Something that felt like power returning to my bones. How did you know they'd actually do it? Patricia asked. Because I know my son. I know how Shanice thinks. Once they decided I was just money to them, just an inheritance waiting to happen, I knew they'd stop seeing me as human. And people who don't see you as human will do anything. I'm sorry, Beatrice. I'm so sorry you had to go through this. Don't be sorry yet. Be sorry for them, because they have no idea what's about to hit them. I heard sirens in the distance. Help was coming, but I wasn't done making calls. The second call was to my lawyer, Jerome Mitchell. I'd hired him 3 weeks ago the minute I knew something was wrong. Jerome was 60 years old, sharp as a tack, and he'd been practicing elder law for 30 years. He'd seen every trick, every scheme, every way that greedy children tried to steal from their aging parents. Mrs. Washington, are you all right? I'm fine, Jerome. They did exactly what we thought they'd do, left me on Highway 49. Police are on their way. Then we proceed as planned. I'll file for the emergency protective order immediately. By the time they get back to Jackson, they won't be able to access any of your accounts. The house deed is already locked down. We recorded the fraud alert with the county clerk yesterday. And I've prepared the civil suit. Attempted exploitation of a vulnerable adult, emotional distress, and a few other charges that are going to make their lives very difficult. And the grandchildren? Jerome's voice softened. I've already contacted Child Protective Services. The moment we show that Rodney and Shanice used their children as witnesses to elder abuse, forcing those kids to sit there while they threatened and abandoned you, CPS will get involved. We'll push for temporary custody with a family member or foster care until this is resolved. My heart ached thinking about Aiden and Zara. They didn't ask for this. They didn't deserve parents who'd use them like weapons. I don't want those babies in foster care. Then we'll find someone. Your pastor mentioned there are families in your congregation who might help. We'll figure it out. But Beatrice, those children cannot stay with people who are capable of doing what Rodney and Shanice just did. He was right. As much as it hurt, he was right. The police car pulled up, lights flashing. A young officer jumped out, concern all over his face. Ma'am? Mrs. Washington? Are you hurt? I'm okay, baby. Just cold and tired. He wrapped a blanket around my shoulders and helped me into the warm patrol car. Another officer was already on his radio calling it in. We have the victim. She's safe. Send Detective Moore our location and put out a bolo for a black SUV. License plate. He looked at me. I rattled off Rodney's license plate number from memory. I'd memorized it years ago, back when I still thought knowing these things was just being a caring mother, not preparing evidence for a criminal case. The third call I'd made that morning, before I even left my house, was to Pastor Jenkins at Mount Zion Baptist Church. Pastor Jenkins had known me for 35 years. He'd baptized Rodney, married him and Shanice, baptized both my grandbabies. He was 80 years old now, retired officially, but still the heart and soul of our congregation. I'd gone to see him 2 weeks ago, when things started getting really bad, told him everything, the questions about my finances, the papers, the coldness, the way my family was circling me like vultures. He'd cried, actually cried sitting there in his office. Sister Beatrice, he said, I have seen this too many times. Children who forget the commandment to honor their father and mother. Children who see their parents as obstacles instead of blessings. But I have never seen it in a child I thought I knew as well as I knew Rodney. What do I do, Pastor? You protect yourself. You prepare. And you trust that God will make a way, because He always does. Always. Now sitting in that police car with a blanket around my shoulders, I called him again. Sister Beatrice, thank God. Patricia called me. She said they really did it. They really left you. They did, Pastor, but I'm safe now. The police have me. Praise Jesus. I've already made calls. The church is mobilized. We have members who are lawyers, social workers, doctors, accountants. Everyone is ready to help you however you need. And Sister Beatrice? The congregation took a vote this morning. Emergency vote. We're establishing a fund to cover all your legal expenses. Every penny you need, we'll provide it. Tears started rolling down my cheeks. After being abandoned by my own blood, my church family was surrounding me with love. Pastor, I can't let y'all do that. You hush now. You've been tithing faithfully for 35 years. You've cooked for every funeral repast, every church dinner. You've babysat for half the congregation. You drove sick folks to their doctor appointments. This church is your family, Beatrice. And family takes care of family. Real family. The young officer drove me to the police station. Detective Moore was waiting outside, and the moment I saw her, I broke down. Just completely broke down. She held me while I cried. 30 years of friendship holding me together when I felt like I might fall apart. Come on, she said gently. Let's get you inside, get you some hot coffee, and then we're going to make sure Rodney and Shanice regret the day they ever thought they could hurt you. Inside, Patricia sat me down in a comfortable office, not an interrogation room, a real office, and brought me coffee and some cookies from the break room. Okay, she said, pulling out a notepad. Tell me everything, from the beginning, every detail. I told her, all of it. The money I'd given them over the years, the sudden interest in my finances, the papers from lawyers I'd never heard of, the cold treatment when I refused to cooperate, the fake vacation, the drive to nowhere, the folder full of documents, the threats, the abandonment. Patricia wrote it all down, her jaw getting tighter with every word. We picked them up 20 minutes ago, she said when I finished. They were at a Denny's, celebrating. Actually, celebrating. Shanice posted on Facebook about finally being free from burdens and starting their new life. Didn't even have the sense to keep quiet. Where are they now? In holding. The district attorney is deciding on charges. Elder abandonment is a felony in Mississippi. Attempted exploitation, coercion, conspiracy to commit fraud. They're looking at serious time. And Beatrice? Because they used their children as witnesses to the crime, because they made Aiden and Zara sit there while they threatened you, CPS is getting involved. Where are my grandbabies now? With a social worker. They're safe. Confused, but safe. They keep asking what's happening, where their parents are. The social worker said they seem more worried than upset, like maybe they knew their parents were doing something wrong. My heart broke for those children, 12 and 10 years old, watching their whole world fall apart. I want them, I said. I want custody. I know I'm old, but I can take care of them. I raised Rodney by myself. I can raise them too. Patricia squeezed my hand. We'll see what we can do. First, you need to go home and rest. I'll have an officer drive you. Tomorrow there's going to be a hearing. Judge Morrison is handling it personally. She does not play when it comes to elder abuse. She's going to want to hear from you. The officer who drove me home was a young woman named Officer Chen. No, wait, let me use a different name. Officer Simmons. She walked me to my door and checked my house to make sure everything was secure. Mrs. Washington, you're one brave lady, she said. My grandmother went through something similar with my uncle. She didn't fight back, just signed everything over because she was too scared. Lost everything. I'm glad you stood up. After she left, I sat in my quiet house and let myself feel everything I'd been holding back. The fear, the betrayal, the grief of losing my son, not to death, but to something worse. Greed. I cried until I couldn't cry anymore. Then I got up, washed my face, made myself some tea, and started planning. The hearing was the next morning. I wore my Sunday best, a navy blue dress and my good shoes. Jerome met me at the courthouse. How are you holding up? He asked. I'm here. That's all that matters. The courtroom was full. Pastor Jenkins was there with at least 20 members from Mount Zion. Patricia was there in uniform. The prosecutor was there, a sharp-looking black woman in her 40s named Angela Davis. And Rodney and Shanice were there, in orange jumpsuits, looking absolutely terrified. Judge Morrison was exactly like Patricia described. No nonsense, sharp-eyed, and clearly not in the mood for foolishness. "Let's get started," she said. "This is a preliminary hearing regarding charges of elder abandonment, attempted financial exploitation, and related offenses. Mrs. Washington, I've read the police report, but I'd like to hear from you directly. In your own words, tell me what happened." I stood up, my legs shaking but my voice steady, and I told her everything. When I got to the part about standing on that highway, watching my son drive away, Judge Morrison's face turned to stone. When I finished, she looked at Rodney and Shanice with pure disgust. "Mr. Washington, Mrs. Washington," and I use those titles loosely, "do you have anything to say for yourselves?" Rodney's lawyer, a sweaty man who kept adjusting his tie, stood up. "Your Honor, my clients were simply concerned about Mrs. Washington's welfare. They believed she was becoming incompetent and—" "Stop talking," Judge Morrison said. "Just stop. I've seen a lot of terrible things in this courtroom. But abandoning your 72-year-old mother on a highway because she wouldn't sign over her life savings, that's a new low. Bail is set at $50,000 each. Trial is set for 6 weeks from now. And until this is resolved, you are both prohibited from any contact with Mrs. Washington or her assets. Any violation of that order and you'll be held in contempt." She banged her gavel. "And one more thing. CPS has recommended that your children be removed from your custody pending investigation. I'm granting that recommendation. Emergency custody is awarded to—" She looked at some papers. "Mrs. Washington has petitioned for temporary custody. Normally, I'd be concerned about placing children with a 72-year-old grandmother. But given that said grandmother is clearly more capable and responsible than her own son, petition granted." I gasped. Just gasped. I was getting my babies. Shanice started screaming. "You can't do this! You can't take our kids! We didn't do anything wrong!" "You abandoned an elderly woman on a highway," Judge Morrison shouted back. "You tried to steal her life savings. You used your children as accessories to elder abuse. Yes, I can take your kids, and yes, I just did. Officers, remove them from my courtroom." As they dragged Rodney and Shanice away, Rodney looked at me one last time. His eyes were full of hate, but also something else. Fear. He was finally realizing what he'd done, what he'd lost. He'd lost his mother, his children, his freedom, his future. All for money he was never going to get. After the hearing, Pastor Jenkins and half the congregation came back to my house. They brought food. Fried chicken, greens, cornbread, peach cobbler. They brought supplies for the grandkids, beds, clothes, toys. They brought love. "Sister Beatrice," Pastor Jenkins said, "you are not alone. This church is your family. These people are your family. And we're going to make sure you and those babies have everything you need." That afternoon, a social worker brought Aiden and Zara to my house. They looked so small. So scared. "Nana Bea," Aiden said quietly, "are Mama and Daddy going to jail?" I knelt down, my old knees protesting, and pulled them both into a hug. "Baby, I don't know what's going to happen to your parents, but I know this. You are safe. You are loved. And I am going to take care of you no matter what. Okay?" Zara started crying. "We're sorry, Nana. We're so sorry. We knew something bad was happening. Mama told us to put our headphones on and not listen. But we knew." "Shh, baby. This is not your fault. None of this is your fault." That night, I tucked them into beds that church members had set up in my spare room. I read them stories, sang them songs, made them feel safe. And as I watched them sleep, I thought about everything that had happened, about how my own son had tried to destroy me, about how the family I built with my blood had betrayed me, but also about how the family I built with my faith had saved me. The trial came 6 weeks later. Rodney and Shanice's lawyer tried everything, said I was confused, said I'd misunderstood, said they were just trying to help. But Patricia had the recording from my phone call. Jerome had the papers they'd tried to force me to sign. The prosecutor had the Facebook post where Shanice celebrated being free from burdens. The jury took 2 hours to find them guilty on all counts. Rodney got 3 years. Shanice got 2. Both would be eligible for parole after serving half their sentences, but their records would follow them forever. In the civil suit, Judge Morrison awarded me damages for emotional distress and legal fees. She also terminated their parental rights, giving me full permanent custody of Aiden and Zara. "Mrs. Washington," she said at the final hearing, "you showed extraordinary courage and strength. You protected yourself and your grandchildren from people who should have protected you. This court commends you, and this court wishes you and your grandchildren every happiness going forward." That was 6 months ago. Today, life is different. Aiden and Zara are thriving. Aiden made the basketball team at his new school. Zara joined the church choir and has a voice like an angel. They call me Nana, but some days I hear them almost say Mama and catch themselves. I tell them it's okay. I'll be whatever they need me to be. The house is loud now, full of laughter and music and the sound of children playing, full of life. Mount Zion still surrounds us with love. Church members bring meals, babysit when I need rest, help with homework, drive the kids to activities. We are carried by a community that understands what real family means. I got a letter from Rodney last month. He's in a minimum security prison about 2 hours away. The letter said he was sorry, said he didn't know what came over him, said Shanice had pushed him into it, that it was all her idea. I haven't written back. I don't know if I ever will. Some betrayals are too deep to forgive. Some wounds don't heal just because someone says sorry. Maybe one day I'll find it in my heart to forgive him. Maybe not. But either way, I'm not signing any papers. I'm not giving him anything. I'm not letting him back into my life or my grandchildren's lives until I'm good and ready, if ever. Because I learned something standing on that highway in the dark, watching those taillights disappear. I learned that I am stronger than I ever knew, that I am worth fighting for, that I deserve to be treated with dignity and respect no matter how old I am. I learned that family isn't always blood. Sometimes family is the people who show up when blood walks away. I learned that you can survive betrayal. You can survive abandonment. You can survive losing the people you thought would never hurt you. And you can build something new from the ashes, something better, something real. My name is Beatrice Washington. I'm 72 years old. I raised a son who tried to destroy me. But I'm also raising 2 grandchildren who will grow up knowing that love means more than money, that integrity matters more than inheritance, and that you never, ever abandon the people who need you. Some days are hard. Some days I cry thinking about what could have been, about the son I lost. But most days I wake up to the sound of my grandbabies laughing. I make them breakfast. I braid Zara's hair. I shoot hoops with Aiden in the driveway. I go to church on Sunday and feel the arms of my real family around me. And I thank God that I stood my ground, that I said no, that I fought back, because they thought they could break me, but all they did was prove how unbreakable I really am. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.